Hi there, and welcome to the Mindful Marathon podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Quirk, a run coach and pediatrician. Mindful Marathon is all about helping runners of all types to run their own race. Whether you are a seasoned runner or you're just getting started, I want to let you know that you're welcome here and that you're in the right place. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I have May Tran here in the studio. She is a registered dietitian nutritionist and a promoter of all things in moderation and an advocate of health and wellness through enjoyable, nutritious, real whole foods, which is definitely something I can get behind. She is
Yay.
the She's the founder of All Year Nutrition and focuses on bridging nutritional science and behavior change by bringing a neutral point of view to the table. So, May, welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here.
Hi, yes, thank you, Michelle, for having me. I'm excited to chat things, food and nutrition for your audience.
Yeah. So food and nutrition can be quite a big topic, and we were trying to tailor this to both of our audiences and what would be most helpful for the runners. So, we are going to talk all about eating, consistent eating, and kind of like reframing for sports and activity, how to better fuel ourselves and without sacrificing anything. And maybe that's a big
Yeah.
topic, but we're going to try.
Yes, we'll get what we can in.
That's right. So, to start out, so what patterns do you commonly see with runners who are busy professionals when it comes to fueling consistently? And I'm speaking especially about like busy professional women.
Yeah, so typically, I do work with quite a few women who are busy professionals, and women typically just wear so many hats in general throughout the day, right? Working full time, running a household, mom, maybe volunteering and doing things on the side, business things on the side. And so oftentimes the biggest, I think, struggle is like planning out fueling throughout the day and eating throughout the day because typically these types of women want to show up the best they can in all these other roles. And then sometimes left in the back burner is their own kind of needs, especially when it comes to nutrition. So that would be a big one that I see.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's right. And it goes even beyond nutrition, but like I'm just thinking about busy day in the office. For me, like typically Wednesdays is my long day at the office. And my husband and I, like I try to kind of meal prep and plan and have leftovers to bring for lunch sometimes, but usually like by Tuesday night, there might not be enough of what we had left over. So like for Wednesday, I'm like, okay, we have peanut butter and jelly sandwich and and I don't know, I'm like cobbling together things, but sometimes it's an afterthought between everything else and running to different activities and our own
Yeah,
run training and work schedule. And if you have children, that's a whole other a
a
whole other
whole other
thing.
hat. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, it's a complicated thing, but I think the important thing is that you can't forget yourself in all of this, right?
Right, yeah, how you want to show up, like you have to fill your cup up before you can start showing up how you envision in other places, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Now, when we were talking about the podcast, and you had mentioned reframing eating to support activity rather than the other way around, and I really I love that idea. What does that shift actually look like in real life?
so I think I have an example of this. So I was working with a nurse practitioner actually. She had came in wanting to improve her cholesterol levels because they were slightly elevated. And she's like, but weight loss could be cool too. And to kind of help start her process, she had already started doing like spinning and doing Pilates, like maybe like twice Pilates, two spin, one spin per week. And we had a couple of sessions, and it actually turned out that it wasn't that she wasn't trying to choose nutritious foods, but she wasn't eating like enough throughout the day. And sometimes that shift does look like planning things and having things readily available to eat. For her, it was helpful to have like easy grab and go options in the morning and in the office ready to go because she's seeing people back to back, and sometimes she doesn't really have time to sit down and heat up a meal. So we worked on like, hey, eating throughout the day can help you not only show up for yourself, but show up for your patients and not get like hangry when you're in the appointment.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I feel like sometimes, I mean, this is like a typical scenario that like if your morning patients run late, it goes into the lunch hour, and so you might not necessarily have a chance to go up and like heat up something or even grab your lunch from the cafeteria upstairs or wherever you keep it. And then it goes into the afternoon, and then all of a sudden it's like 2 or 3 o'clock, and you're like, I have not eaten anything since the morning, and I'm like starving and hangry and like looking for like candy or chocolate or something in the office because that is what happens to be there in the touchdown spaces. So I'm a
Yes.
big fan of snacks and like foods that you don't necessarily need to heat up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like it's not like by no willpower that you're reaching for those easy to eat foods like candy, because like our body knows those are so easily digestible. So you and her, like she was kind of having that same issue happen. We're like, I'm just going to the vending machine and getting chips or snacks. And I'm like, it's not your fault. Like your body is literally running on fumes, and it's like, it's kind of alarming you. Like, I need something ASAP.
Yeah, yeah. So I know we'll get to this, but yeah, it sounds like planning this out and having a little time with yourself maybe every day and every week, like thinking about it is the way to go.
Yeah, and like she was a nurse practitioner, so she did go go through schooling and like knows the science behind
Mhm.
metabolism, but sometimes I think that it's like a little bit far removed from like us as professionals too. Like we know it's there, but we don't really kind of connect the dots as to why we need to eat every day and consistently throughout the day. So for her, that shift looked like me running through, kind of like, hey, this is metabolism. Remember it from school. We got a little sciencey with it. And then she's like, wow, this makes sense. And she was able to kind of implement eating to support lowering cholesterol, but making sure she had energy to show up to spin and Pilates and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Like I know we need the energy for our regular day to day and our jobs, but then we're talking about runners and athletes and, people who want to exercise too. So that's another layer.
Right. It's another layer of fuel that you need to
Yeah,
add to the day.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are some like red flags that a runner may not be fueling enough during the day? Just maybe like signs or symptoms.
Yeah. So for women, of course, underfueling can lead to like irregular menstrual cycles or amenorrhea. So that would be a really, really big red flag. But in general, some other red flags could look like sleeping difficulties, like not getting enough sleep or quality sleep. I've worked with a couple of people like I ask about sleep and they're like, "Oh, I'm not sleeping good." Ran through what they were eating. They were not eating enough, and maybe a little bit too early. So they were waking up in the middle of the night. And we kind of fixed that by like, hey, let's add a bedtime snack or move back dinner a little bit. So for runners, for sure, you need more fuel and you need quality rest to help, be productive in what you've done with your training plus eating. Other ones would be poor recovery, feeling like it's really hard to get back to like baseline after a hard training session, or the training session feels super difficult and it's really hard to just get even like through that in
Mhm.
one piece. And I think a big one people tend to not take a look at is like mood changes too, right? Like how irritable are you throughout the day, or how fast you get irritable, right?
Yes.
So things like that.
Yeah.
And for women too, I think the trouble concentrating can be a big I'll say yellow flag in terms of feeling
Mhm.
wise, because sometimes we think like, oh, maybe I'm just like not being productive enough. I'm like, well, actually, maybe it's you're not eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, because it's like your body has gotten used to being at an underfueled baseline, so it needs to downregulate because your body is not thinking about how well am I doing at training, right? What's my next PR? It's thinking about, well, how the heck can we keep this person alive with all of the activity that they're still doing?
Yeah, that's a huge stressor
Yeah.
for the system. Along these lines, I wanted to shift a little bit into talking about like carb carb and protein requirements. And I've done a couple of interviews with sports nutrition people, and I've talked about carbs a lot, but I still feel like there is a lot of fear of carbohydrates out there. And so it can never hurt to talk about it again. But can you talk about the role of carbohydrates for runners and for endurance athletes in general?
Yes, they are the body's number one preferred energy source. So making sure that you're eating them enough and adequately, not only throughout the day, but depending on how long your run is, making sure that you're getting in some fuel if possible, right? If tolerated, during your activity. Because if your body is already kind of relying on carbs to keep you alive, now you've again added another layer of why we need to eat a little bit more to help fuel your performance. And I think in today's world, it just gets such a bad rep, right? People think
Yes.
that carbs are like fattening, but there's no one food or macronutrient that is just inherently fattening on its own. It's the amount of calories like in excess that we eat, right? It's that energy balance that we have going on. And unfortunately, carbs tend to be pretty easy to overeat. And so when we tend to kind of cut them out, yes, people see weight loss happen, but that's literally because you've cut out a whole food group. But then also you lose some water weight because per 1 gram of carbs you ingest, your body holds on to 3 grams of water. So weight shifts with water as well, right?
Oh yeah, like significant weight shifts with water.
Yeah.
If you eat a lot of carbs and or sodium, you will
Have
notice.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that water retention. And yeah, people, when they step on the scale, it's always like, oh, well, like I gained this many pounds of fat overnight. I'm like,
Mm.
that's like pretty impossible for you to do.
Yeah. Yeah, one interesting thing, I mean, I try to really not talk about weighing oneself on the scale, but an interesting note is like after a very long run, so like after somebody's long run on the weekend, if you truly did like fuel appropriately and take hydration appropriately and all of those things, like your weight really should be up the following morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wish more people kind of took it as like a data point versus saying, like, well, this means I did good or bad. Like, literally has nothing to do with what your value or how well you did an activity.
Carbs are our most efficient fuel source. What about protein? Like protein continues to have its moment.
It's in the spotlight, it's shining, and fiber's coming up along with it. But uh, so protein is, I would say, it's still important for runners from a perspective of helping recover your muscle fatigue and some stress that you probably have put on it from your runs. But runners in general, I believe, should kind of pair their running and supplement it with strength training to help your performance with running be even better. So, to be able to even build muscle mass or preserve what you have, you need to have adequate amounts of protein coming in along with carbs to help preserve everything, plus help you continue to go.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's important for sure. And the strength training piece is really important. I feel like I often talk more about carbs just because people really struggle to add enough when they are endurance training. So I feel like runners concentrate very much on the fuel that they will bring with them along a run, like what will they carry with them, what will they take for their long run. And we talk about all of these different fueling options within the run, like gels and chews and like whole foods, gummy bears or candy or fig Newtons and things like that. But in terms of like after finishing a run, what are some easy fueling options that somebody could think about? Because I feel like we concentrate a lot on the in-run fuel, but then not after.
yeah. I think cereal is a fantastic, easy one, especially for these upcoming like summer months, right? Like most likely you're not going to want to do like hot toast after you run in the hot
Yes.
sun and have been super exhausted. Like, so think things like easy and refreshing. So cereal with a side of eggs or a side of yogurt or cottage cheese if you're part of that club. Smoothies and smoothies, I think, requires a little bit more effort than
Hmm.
cereal,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But with smoothies, you can kind of, well, same with cereals too, but you can kind of play around with the proportions of like simple carbs and complex carbs in your smoothie so that you're able to kind of replenish some of your glycogen stores in your muscle and then also sustain you a little bit throughout the time after your run, because you're most likely going to be running and then doing other life things, right? So
Yes.
supporting not only the recovery from the run, but then being able to show up in another activity, whatever that may be.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of smoothies, but I usually don't have them in winter because it's just too cold.
Yeah.
So winter's tough. But yes, and I also will go for like eggs and toast when it's cold out. But yeah, that requires obviously cooking and doing that.
Yeah. Or you could do like toast with hard-boiled eggs if people like that. I sometimes might do like a toast or bagel with, I'll do like one cream cheese and one cottage cheese, help me get a little bit extra protein. So kind of experimenting with fun swaps that you might be okay with.
Yeah, yeah.
What is in your smoothie?
You can play around with it, but I usually like pick the fruits that you like. Like I like frozen blueberries, mango, and banana. That's like
Yeah.
the fruits in there. And then for your protein, you can pick some kind of milk base, whatever you like, soy, cow. If you use a plant-based milk, then I try to get the protein in there somehow. So you can add
Yeah.
yogurt. Like the protein piece is where your dairy is going to come in, but if you're using a plant-based one, you have to think about it a little more. Peanut
Yeah.
butter. What else is in there? A handful of spinach.
Nice.
Sometimes my husband will throw oats in it.
Yes, that's a great
Makes it
way
a
to
little
help.
like chunky. Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, but you can play with it, right? And people put in other types of fruit that they like. But I also like hiding the spinach in there. That's one of my go-tos for my patients in the peds office because a lot of kids don't love green vegetables. But if they will
Yeah.
take a smoothie and you can hide spinach very well in a smoothie
With berries, it
with
comes out
berries.
purple. It looks
Yes,
magical.
it is. Yes, yes. So anyway, but yes, I love the smoothie. It's just in the winter, it's really hard for me to do that if I'm already freezing.
For fair, fair. You gotta switch it up.
Yes. Now you emphasize, in on your website, and I have talked to you a lot about this, but you emphasize moderation and neutral nutrition, which I love. How does that mindset help runners build a healthier relationship with food?
Yeah, so I think in today's world, with the media, right, and especially with social media, their foods have become so polarizing. It's very like either good or bad or like, best or horrible. And unfortunately, in the world of nutrition, it is not as clear cut as black and white as the media would love us to believe. So my approach is focusing on the gray area because that's really what life is. And so I like to kind of take a step back and explain the science behind things so that we can have an understanding about why we need to eat, what foods provide us with. And then the more kind of neutral mindset we have about it, then we know we have the information and we can choose how we want to implement that or not, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think with runners, sometimes a lot of people tend to get into running because they want to lose weight. That seems to be kind of, I think, the gateway into running, but then it often kind of funnels into like, well, actually, I like running. It brings me peace. It gives me a moment to myself. I like seeing how my training progresses. So, again, knowing the science behind fueling for specific training sessions or sports can then help you have a more I guess, yeah, understanding about why it is so important to incorporate multiple foods versus kind of demonizing and polarizing foods in like a good or a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. And then I think too, with like having a more neutral mindset, then you can take in that information or maybe not information from social media and kind of put your critical thinking skills to the use to be like, hey, this person is doing X, Y, and Z thing. They're not me. They're not having multiple jobs, different careers. Like it could work for them, but it maybe not for me. And so again, taking that neutral mindset and zooming out to see, hey, how does it work for me or how doesn't
Mhm.
it work for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead
Like
of saying,
there are generalizations, but like we're all an experiment of one. And
Yeah.
we have to make it work for us, for our schedule, for our body, all the things.
And and for the season of life that you're into,
Yep.
right? Something that works now
Yep.
might not work next year.
Yeah. It's the same way with the training plan. I feel like a training plan, it's very easy to think it could be one size fits all, but it doesn't work that way
It's not.
at all.
Yeah. They will still ask for like tweaks, right? Like, hey, this is
Yes.
so it ends up not being like one size fits all.
Exactly. Yep. Well, for like a practical, maybe like a practical takeaway, if someone is listening and they want to maybe take one small step to improve their nutrition and their fueling this week, what would you suggest?
I think without knowing, their specific situation, I might say what's like a first small step that you can do. And that would be kind of, hey, zoom out versus kind of trying to be
Mhm.
picky about a certain thing,
Yeah.
and take a step back to see, hey, how's my eating and fueling going throughout the day? What's good? And maybe what can use a little bit of like care right now. From that, hey, this could use care. What is the easiest thing you can do to add in some nutrition there, right? Versus
Mhm.
thinking about what we're taking away.
Yeah.
Do nutrition by addition versus subtraction.
I love that. What can we add?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then I have sort of a personal question to end on. So I know we have chatted about this, but you are kind of ramping up your own training. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're training for, what you have coming up, and maybe something that you learned about your own fueling in this process?
Yes. So I'm training for a DECA Fit race in July in Boston. It's
Oh,
my first one.
can you tell us what that is for people who don't know?
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to High Rocks if you know what that is, but it's different in the sense that the distance that you run in total is less. So it's 5K instead of 8K. And you have 10 strength stations instead of eight, and they
Mhm.
kind of gradually build up to like using your full body. So you start with like a little more isolation things and then work your way up. So
Okay.
you're running, you do station, and then you run, and then you do another station 10 times.
It sounds like a lot. All right.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I just wanted to give it a try. I think
Yeah.
I like the running aspect plus the strength aspect of the race. But what I have learned about my own feeling is that why not have a pre-workout snack? Because it's just going to make the whole training, one, be more productive, two, not feel like I'm dying, and three, it ends up making everything a little bit more enjoyable, versus feeling like I'm left with an empty tank at the end of it. I feel way more energetic during it.
Great. Yes. No, that's a
Um,
great takeaway for everybody.
yeah. And I think people have to experiment for themselves too to see what is tolerable, because depending on what time of day you work out too, you might not want to eat if it's like early in the morning.
Yeah, I have worked very hard to train my own gut. I feel like you can train your gut just as you
For
can like
sure.
train your muscles and your heart and your brain and everything else. But I mean, I still run and work out like first thing in the morning, and I'm usually not hungry when I wake up. So it has taken some practice to just start with even like a bite of a banana and like work up from there, or like one square of a graham cracker and work up from there to have my belly be able to tolerate more of that
Yeah,
before
and
I go out.
especially like right. And I don't think people realize that too, because then some people like on race day, like they're like, oh, I heard I should be fueling. I'm like, maybe not this day that you've chosen
Yes.
to.
Nothing new on race day. So,
Mhm.
correct. And on race day, I've seen the same thing, and people will be like, oh, I need to like eat like half a bagel or like something. But if you haven't practiced with that, it could be fine, but it could be a disaster. And we don't want you to have to run to the porta potty.
Yeah, today is not the day to experiment, right?
No, but no, that's a great tip. And yes, you can. I'm an example of one, but many of my athletes have done the same where we work really slowly to like train the gut to be able to tolerate something. Now, some people like bananas, other people don't. Some people like graham crackers, other people don't. But there is something for everyone. You just have to find what that is, and then you can kind of like work up from wherever you are.
Yeah, and I think that really kind of falls into like neutral perspective because I'm sure you have people asking you, well, what's the best pre-workout, pre-run snack? You're like, what's your answer, Michelle?
What mine is probably not what works best for you. You have to find what works for you. Same
Yeah.
when people ask me what's your favorite running sneaker, and I say, well, my favorite sneaker is probably not the one that is your favorite or will work the best for your foot and ankle, and if you've had injuries before, and so
Yeah. So it's an experiment, right? When we
yes,
do experiments in science, we're doing neutral and then finding what works, what doesn't work. So basically, we're training people to be scientists for themselves.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it doesn't happen overnight. I think that's the other piece is that you have to be patient with yourself while you figure this out. And you're not going to figure it out in, experimenting only one time. That's why we have
Yeah.
nice long training cycles to figure this out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I think that's for some people, like that's a harder pill to swallow, right? And that like
Mm,
there's not a best something. Sometimes it takes a little bit of grieving and then like, okay, I'm ready to experiment and try different strategies, whether it's fueling throughout the day or for a pre-run.
yep. And the other thing, I learned this just recently. I've been working back toward longer distances after some time off of running. So I haven't really needed to fuel within a run in a long time because I hadn't been running longer than an hour and like 15 minutes. And so
Okay.
I had to like retrain my gut to be able to take something within the run too because I hadn't done that in a couple of months. So it
Yeah.
was fine, but you have to, I didn't want race day to be the first time that I was trying that.
To retrain it too.
Yes.
And like if we have a little bit of time, like to that extent with kind of training your gut, like I also work in like a subacute rehab, like in the inpatient side as well. And there's like a phrase that like I don't know if I'm not sure if I heard doctors use it, but dietitians use it a lot,
Yeah.
where we're like, if the gut works, use it, and talking specifically about like people who need tube feeding, right?
Mhm.
There's different routes of tube feeding that you can use, but like we don't want the gut to take such a long rest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if it's still working, hey, let's kind of filter food through it so that it's still being put to use, right? Like it's a muscle. You don't, if you don't use it,
Yes.
you lose it, or you
Yeah.
have to retrain it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
was a little bit nervous taking the fuel in the middle of the run. I made sure that I was close to home just in case I needed to run home. But it was fine.
smart.
It
That's
was
good.
fine. But I knew because really, like the last time I had run that long was maybe like October or November. So I had taken like a good season off, which I needed to
Yeah.
do, but getting back to it, I was a little nervous myself.
So no nausea, no nothing. It was good.
No, it was good. It remembered what to do.
Muscle memory. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. But well, thank
Yes.
you so much. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yes, so I have a website you can find me at. It's allyournutrition.com, or you can find me on my very small Instagram page.
Small
Also,
but mighty.
it's All Your Nutrition, and I am an insurance-based dietitian. And I think that's important for me because as a healthcare provider, I want to be able to give nutrition access to everybody. So that's why I choose to take insurance.
Can you see people outside of Pennsylvania?
It depends on the licensure rules of that state. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I can like delete out that part, but I wasn't sure and I was going to ask you.
No, that's okay. Yeah, every state has different licensures, so it
Okay.
depends on that state.
Okay, got it. Well, I will leave your links in the show notes so that everybody can get in touch with you and give you a follow over on Instagram. It has lots
Awesome.
of great content.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much. You gave us a master class and lots of great pearls of wisdom. So thank you for joining
Yay.
us, and thanks everybody for being here, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend. And if you have a moment, please rate and review the podcast so that we can reach and encourage others to tie on their sneakers and join us out there on a run. See you next time.